Okay, what's up, YouTubers? This is your guy once again, Mr. Evaluator. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be debunking Scribble Knots, aka Maxwell, and his omniversal feats. Okay? And we're going to kind of really go over some things that a lot of people basically wasn't able to understand. Okay, so as stated over the internet, whatever he does in a video game, he can actually do in reality. And this is what it pretty much means to take things out of context because he can make all of his villains and the people he created weak, means he could possibly go in the MCU or the DC universe and make everybody else weak. Make Goku weak or possibly make anybody that's beneath him weak, and that really doesn't make any sense because like the thing about it is, do he own Goku? Do he own Thor? Does he own Black Widow? Does he own Batman? Does he own Catwoman? No, he doesn't. According to the video game, he has power and control over all he created. Over all he created, literally. He can create Goku, but it will be his version of Goku. It won't be the DBZ universe of Goku. It's going to be his version of Goku. Okay? And he can make his version of Goku omniversal, right? But at that same scale, the actual Goku will be stronger than that Goku, because his Goku that he created may not even don't even have to multiply his power. Well, can't multiply his power. Why? Because he don't know anything about him. It didn't tell you that Maxwell would see his villain or see his opponent and would know everything about him. Just because he's a creator does not give him knowledge about everybody else's universe. Like, that's what happens when people take things out of context. Like, when you go, like, yeah, that's what happens when you take things out of context. And it really kind of points to back to what I said before. You're just dealing with a narrow-minded individual. Um, Somebody that really don't know what they're talking about, and they're just saying because he did this and he could do this and they can't do that, he beats them. That's not how you use feats accordingly, and that kind of really makes it really doesn't make any sense. Like, it's unfair, and it's not equal. So the thing about it is that this is why I complain so much about using feats the way they use them. The way you use feats is not the way you say this guy has more feats than that guy, so he beats him. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're bringing two heroes or two characters from out of the comic book and out of their universe, right? These two guys are fighting outside of their universe. They're fighting outside, okay? So you can't use feats because, and you can't use feats in a way of saying, oh, Superman has more feats than Goku, so Goku beats him. No, that's not true, because Goku's capability is he's able to multiply his power, and Superman can't multiply his power, okay, because one sun is equal to Superman, okay? So that Superman will be universal. And by the time, and if Goku scales his power, okay, which he pretty much can, he can amp his power to go universal, okay? And we've seen it multiple times. Like, when Goku got angry that Krillin died, he went Super Saiyan. And we know that at Goku's weakest form, right, these guys were planet busters. And by the time they went Super Saiyan, they was able to, well, not destroy the whole solar system yet, because that was Super Saiyan 2, a solar system. They were multiplanetary, okay? As Super Saiyan, they was able to destroy half a solar system. So it even confirms that when Cell was talking about destroying the entire solar system, he was at the state of Super Saiyan 2. Super Saiyan Ascended. This was, perfect Cell, perfect form. Once he ascended from a Super Saiyan and he was able to literally say, I blow up an entire solar system. So that goes to confirm to you that, you got oh yeah, the galaxy, solar system, and we have the universe. So at that, when Goku was Super Saiyan, you may as well say that he had the power to blow up half the entire solar system. So fighting Superman at a universal scale, Goku will go Super Saiyan and he be times that power, times 50. So he beats Goku. So in this case, we're gonna get back to Maxwell. Like the only time any character can actually do that is if they are able to create a story. If he's able to look at Goku and know everything about him, right? Then he can actually create another Goku, and it will be that Goku in the DBZ universe. See, he could draw his own Goku, but it won't be the Goku from the DBZ universe. He can make that Goku as powerful as he wants, and he can make that Goku as weak as he wants, but he will not be able to tamper with that Goku from the DBZ universe because he did not create the DBZ universe. He can create a DBZ universe, but it will be his version of the DBZ universe. It won't be the actual DBZ universe. And on top of that, Maxwell will have no idea about Goku, okay? But based off of what he actually sees, okay? So 9 times out of 10, right? He can actually see Goku changing into different piles of his transformations, yeah, different styles of his transformations, and he's not even going to be able to keep up with that. I mean, because Maxwell is pretty much just a regular, innocent kid who doesn't know, who has his own universe, his own imagination world, and he can create whatever he wants. Let's give it a highball. Let's just say Goku tells him everything about his power. Again, he's going to have his version of Goku. It won't be that actual Goku because, like, if he does make it an actual Goku, he would not have no control over that Goku. Let's give it a highball. Let's just say that he would have that Goku, okay? But he can't have the same characteristics as the DBZ Goku because if he does, that Goku will turn on him. That's real raw logic. I mean, because you can actually control somebody. I mean, we've seen this in movies when people were actually cloning other people and keeping them the same. They were actually these cloners, these clone machines were these machines was actually able to turn against their owners, their creator. So if you think that he could give Goku's characteristics and he tells Goku to destroy the whole DBZ universe, his version of Goku with Goku's characteristics, he's not gonna do it, bro. Okay? And this right here is facts. So if he's gonna draw Goku and literally make the DBZ version of Goku or the DB or Marvel's version of Thor, they're not gonna do it. And he can make that, and let's just say that he tries to make that Thor weak. The Thor he created, he just makes him weak. Okay, well then that Thor's just gonna blitz him and take this guy out because he has no power over the concept that created Thor. Though he is his own concept, Maxwell is his own concept, but he is not the concept of the Marvel Universe. And the concept of the Marvel Universe is something totally different to Maxwell, bro. Especially the concept of the DC Universe. Like by him understanding that chaos and order balances the entire DC universe, just him getting an idea about it will probably even hurt his head, or possibly break him. because as shown in the game, what he owns and what he creates belongs to him, and he could do whatever he wants to. But it doesn't mean that he could do that with other characters that he doesn't own. This is what it means to take everything out of context. Because you basically see him do this doesn't mean he could go to somebody else's universe and do what he did in his universe. Because according to the game, he does this in his universe. In his universe. This is his universe. This is not Goku's universe. This is, and it's just like that. This is not, even if Goku was to, or Thor was to walk on his grounds, he still can't change him. Now, in Thor's in his universe, he could probably put chains around him, or probably draws 25,000 planets on top of him in his universe and all of this other stuff. Or he could, possibly create a villain to be stronger and more powerful than Thor himself or Goku himself. And knowing Goku can basically multiply his powers. So, as I told you from the beginning, he would just spar with this villain until he reaches his max and then go Super Saiyan and be 50 times that. So every time Maxwell, and pretty much Thor, what I heard about Thor, I mean, we have different versions of Thor. Uh, so like I was reading one of the Marvel comics, and they was like saying that Thor could pretty much amp his own powers. With Mjolnir, he could scale the planetary, he can scale the solar system, and pretty much like he can literally become the god of thunder, like that will scale to the entire universe, being the literal god of thunder. And so, scaling to that power will literally overwhelm Maxwell. I mean, like, I mean, he could create a villain to be stronger than that, you know, but he's not going to be able to tamper with Thor because the whole concept of Thor is from the Marvel universe. And like literally Thor's concept goes all the way to Stan Lee, who is the concept of the Marvel universe. So when Maxwell will be fighting Thor, he's not going to be fighting against Thor being the god of thunder. He's going to actually fight against the concept of the Marvel universe. He's going to literally be fighting against Stan Lee. And the problem with that is he's not going to beat him. Why? Because Stan Lee has more storyboard. No, not more. Stan Lee has a storyboard for each and every character in his whole universe, while Maxwell doesn't. Maxwell just comes up with an idea and it doesn't have a story that supports it. He just created it because he created it. So in actuality, fighting the god of thunder at that scale of power, and that doesn't have a storyboard, Thor will destroy him because of the concept, because of the story concept of the character. That's why, like, real logic, if you write a character with no background story and you just pretty much created him and he doesn't have a background, then it kind of puts your guy in a situation. I mean, it doesn't matter what he does. Like, he could fight against Batman, but because it's not going to be the actual Batman, but it's going to be the concept of his story. So literally, because Maxwell does not have a storyboard in his universe, the one above all would like that concept that beats um, Maxwell's creation will literally be claimed by Marvel. And Marvel, which is the one above all, would literally will own this innocent kid and all of his creations. because the concept is bigger, and how it's bigger is because of the story. The story is what the story of Stan Lee. This is outside the Marvel Universe. The story of Stan Lee is what created the MCU. And I'm pretty sure, and that exists in the comic, okay? And, we can have the creator talk about Scribble. The story of the little boy and what he basically went through in his life shows you, that. But that's just one story. While Stan Lee has multiple stories, not only for himself, but for other characters as well. So in this scenario, he has more feats than he do for the sake of the storyboard. Like, Marvel will beat him. Thor will beat him. And the reason why, you may scratch your head. Well, Mr. Evaluator, didn't you just say it that you don't use feats like that? Like, he beats him because he has more feats than he do. And you just said that that guy has more story than the other guy. No, listen to what I'm literally saying. The reason why the storyboard plays a big part in it. So, okay, so you could just be like this. Goku has more storyboard than Santama. Or Superman has more storyboard than uh Goku. That means he beat Goku. No, that's not how you use it. What I'm saying is, when we're talking about, this is how an omniversal battle goes. An omniversal battle doesn't deal with capabilities because that's within creation. If we're talking about an omniversal battle, we're going outside of creation. And basically, if there is no concept of story that created that stands the foundation of the omniverse, then, and you got another guy that does have a foundation that supports his whole universe, yeah. And not only that, in his universe, his characters and his creation has story. Actually, yes. In an omniversal battle, this is what you use. So, in actuality, the one above all beats Scribblenauts, beats Maxwell, bro. Because, like, again, Maxwell on the outside does not have a story. So let's just give it a highball. Let's just say the creator of Maxwell say he was a little guy, blah, 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 blah. And that's what made him create his own universe. Now, that's one story that supports everything he does in his universe. That's outside of creation. So now we're talking about inside creation. His monsters, his characters, they don't have no story. So let's just say that the story represents him, right? That's big. Now let's talk about Stan Lee. Stan Lee has a story that created Marvel, and inside of creation, all of the Marvel comics has their own stories that made them become the character they are today. And it all represents back to Stan Lee. So, in actuality, Thor beats this guy in an omniversal battle. The one above all beats Maxwell. Literally, he beats Maxwell because he has more story. Because Maxwell only has one story that supports everything in his universe. And inside creation, they don't have a story, but they all represent Maxwell. That's one story, right? Okay, so, but in Stan Lee, they have Juggernaut, Deadpool have more story to Stan Lee, and the story created. So basically, Stan Lee is omniversal, right? And it literally makes the storyboard, it makes his story more omniversal than he is. Because Deadpool's story relates back to Deadpool. the character's story created the character. So basically, the story, Marvel has its own version of a omniversal god. The story of Batman, like even in the DC, the story of Batman, his livelihood created Batman, made him become Batman. And this is the chaos in the order that pretty much balances the story of Batman. So this story is way beyond the concept of Maxwell. Maxwell is just a kid that, had a livelihood, and next thing you know, he created his own universe. So these villains don't have a story that created these villains and made them become the villains and the bad people they are, or the heroes in his universe made the people become who they are today because of the storyboard. No, they was created because of Maxwell. And Maxwell pretty much represents himself because of his story livelihood. So his story made him create his own reality and his own universe, what pretty much supports him, while Stan Lee has his story that created him, right? That allowed him to create Marvel, that allowed Marvel to create stories, and that these stories created different characters. So in actuality, that whole concept destroys Maxwell. In an omniversal battle, it destroys Maxwell because Maxwell only has one story that represents him, while Stan Lee has hundreds of stories that represents the characters that created the characters that represents him. So in an omniversal battle, Stan Lee and the one above all is will be everywhere, will be in more places. So in a versus battle, physical battle, Stan Lee will be in one place. He will be in more places than Maxwell. That's what it means in an omniversal battle. If you have more stories than the other one in an omniversal battle, that means that that character will be in one place, more than one time. This basically goes back to light and the truth. This goes back to truth and the God of the Full Metal Alchemist universe. He's everything and everywhere. So because that story, he is the story and the concept that make up Full Metal Alchemist. So in an omniversal battle, and they have their own stories that created them, you know. And so in an omniversal battle, like the truth won't just fight the one above all. Like when he's fighting, everybody in his universe will be fighting. The Full Metal Alchemist will be fighting in their universe. And that means Thor is going to be fighting and all of the MCU is going to fighting. So this is what it means to have a versus battle. So when the one above all is going to fight the truth, he's not going to be like, this is how it works. One above all cannot fight. He's attached. It's just like you're saying, okay, Mike Tyson's training career is actually fighting. His whole livelihood of him actually training is literally in him. So when he fights, all of his experience, that's like you're saying, oh, Mike Tyson, let's take the training out of him that gave him his experience and put him in a boxing match. No, it's impossible. There's no way to work like that. Because if you do, because if you go against people that actually do that, then they're just illiterate and they don't know what they're talking about. This is basically how you use a versus battle. This is how it is, when two omniversal beings go at war. They're not going to be fighting alone by themselves because their entire livelihood is attached with them. So when one above all is fighting against Scribblenauts, Deadpool is fighting, freaking Widow is fighting, the Avengers fighting, Thanos is fighting, Silver Surfer is fighting. So in this case, he will be in more places than Maxwell. And Maxwell will literally be like in one area, okay? Because in his universe, he'll pretty much have his own version of everything that relates him, while Stan Lee has everything in his universe that not only that represents him, but has its own story that represents him, but it still goes back to him. So he will be in more places than Maxwell would. So in this case, Maxwell would lose against Thor. So if he's fighting against Deadpool, he's fighting against Black Widow, you put him up against any Marvel character. He's not going to fight that Marvel character. He's going to fight the concept of the whole Marvel universe. That's what it means to have an omniversal verse battle. So in this case, even the weakest Marvel character, Maxwell will lose. He will lose. And like, because that concept will beat him. Because he doesn't have enough, he only has one storyboard that represents him. And that storyboard did not create its own character, its own villain. So he has one storyboard that represents him, while there's multiple storyboards that represent Stan Lee. So he'll be in all places. He'll be everywhere at one time. Pretty much like the Truth. When the Truth is fighting, the Truth is everywhere at one time. So yeah, he'd be more places than anybody else. So this is how it is. So Maxwell is omniversal, but he's that in his universe. He's not like that in anybody else's universe. So if Spider-Man was gonna come fight him, he's not gonna fight. And please, let's not even talk about Flash, because Flash is the whole concept of the DC universe, and pretty much the Speed Force runs the reality. It's the time, like it's the it's the time in the DC universe. So with Flash going in his universe, yeah, he can create his own Flash, but it won't be DC's versions of Flash, because he would like literally, once he tapped into the Nexus speed, going to Max's universe, Max could erase, because time does not apply in Maxwell universes. It really doesn't. And in his universe, time does not apply. But like, he could just literally get out of his universe if he wants to. But could he erase him? No, because then he'd probably be tampering. Then that mean he could just erase the concept of DC. And DC is balanced by chaos and order. And by erasing that, you will then be the balance of the DC. You will then be the balance in between chaos and order and of the DC universe. And this whole concept and this thought is literally going to destroy Maxwell, because Maxwell does not have no concept of a balance in between reality. It's just like you're bringing a child into politics. You're bringing a child into religion, and he's not going to have no idea about that. This innocent child. So it goes back to what I said too in the beginning. He's omniversal in his universe. He can't go to nobody else's universe and make them weak, or another character from another universe can, go in his universe and he could change their powers and make them weak. Like, no, he can't do that, because then that means he could change the reality and the concept of that author. And it literally told you in this video game, he can create and destroy what he creates in his universe. So therefore, he did not create Superman. He can create his own version of Superman, but he will not literally create Superman. And Superman coming to his universe, he can't touch him, because he basically is the concept. He is the literal concept of the whole DC nation. So this is what it is in an omniversal battle. Now, when we're talking about Kirby, okay, now when we're talking about Mario pretty much represents Nintendo, and Nintendo has everybody. So in his universe, like, I'm not sure if Mario has a storyboard, but in the video game, of course, he has a little storyboard that represents the character and the director. So he's pretty much like Maxwell too. but he can get defeated. You can beat Mario, but he doesn't go to the concept of Nintendo. So, like, he'll literally have to fight the concept of the Nintendo if he fight. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Like, he'll literally have to fight the concept of Nintendo to, kind of change everybody's reality. But the fact of Sonic, if Maxwell fights Sonic, and Sonic comes to his reality, then he's gonna fight the concept that supports Sonic, and Sonic only has one concept. But see, as shown in the movie theaters, it's the power of friendship. The power of friendship and love and care pretty much powers Sonic. Listen to that capability. The power of love and friendships, right? Powers Sonic. So Sonic is basically a symbol of good, dude. And like if Maxwell was to battle Sonic or they was to spar, Sonic would literally toast this guy because one, he doesn't own Sonic. Okay, he can make his version of Sonic, but he can't make that Sonic. He can't tamper with that Sonic, and that Sonic powers off of the powers. His powers come from peace, love, and joy, and good. And let's just say he's at the scale of the entire omniverse. So, well, in his universe, and but Sonic could pretty much do damage to him. He could defend a force field. So in this case, Sonic can literally exhilarate his powers to to literally the scale. He could exhilarate his powers to the scale of whatever it takes to that scale of power. Like this guy's omniversal. He could pretty much amp his powers all the way up to omniverse, to the entire omniverse. So he could pretty much absorb all of the good. He could all the good and happy energy that's any speck of happiness that's in him. Like he could pretty much absorb instantaneously. Like would Sonic even come across this guy and like literally look at him, and once he get that that sense of friendship, that good energy is gonna flow right through Sonic as soon as he steps in this universe. So when they do go to battle and spar, Sonic is gonna be omniversal. uh and before you tilt your head, before you lose your mind, I'm gonna tell you again, the power of good, peace, love, and joy pretty much represents Sonic, and that's how he basically gets his power. And this was shown in the Sonic movie. That's why he uses the Chaos Emeralds for good, because good powers Sonic. And when you tell Sonic, I hate you, and all those negative words, it can literally get to him. But pretty much like Eggman, once he found out that there was love, peace, and joy, and happiness, like he stood up for friendship, and like friendships powers Sonic. Friendship powers Sonic and literally takes him to any scale of power, dude. So this guy, I don't care how powerful a villain is. Like friendship can take. It's pretty much like Dragon Ball Z. Sonic was based off Dragon Ball Z. That's why you get the gold hair and stuff. So Sonic can like literally amp just because of the sake of friendship. If he was fighting an omniversal enemy, then Sonic's the friendship could basically scale him to that level of power. So in actuality, Sonic is, well, I wouldn't say infinite, but due to limitations of the authors, Sonic is literally almost limitless. He's nigh to unlimited power because of that capability. Pretty much like Trigon. So if Sonic was ever to go up against Trigon, Sonic represents friendship, and he could pretty much try to corrupt Sonic's mind, but Sonic is literally too small. But it doesn't matter. So even if he did replicate, all of that energy and do exactly what Sonic does, like the power of friendship pretty much amplifies Sonic. And so if Sonic wanted to, he could literally tap into infinity if he wants to. And I mean, this is what literally kind of like almost puts him above Flash. So, in actuality, I kind of got distracted. Okay, so in actuality, the power of friendship, you know, holds Sonic, and that's basically like a limiter. But he can go to whatever power he wants to because of the power of friendship, and it depends on who he's fighting. So in actuality, I would say that Sonic is infinite, but he chooses not to. He puts himself on the limit. I'll just say, I'll just say that they put Sonic on the limit. You know, it depends on who he's fighting. So you best believe it. If he's fighting an author that writes comics, and he is evil, you best believe that because of the sake of friendship and anger, because of the sake of friendship and love and peace, can pretty much, even using the Chaos Emeralds, will amplify Sonic to that level of power, because of good. Um, but I might have to do some more research. But back to Maxwell, no, Maxwell cannot go to anybody else's universe and change their characters because he did not create that character. So he is only omniversal in his universe. He's not omniversal in anybody else's universe. Because if he was, then, I mean, literally, he, the character he created in his universe will have their own story and their own background, that made them the character. And pretty much he'd be like Stan Lee. So that'll be a never ending battle. Well, actually, then when they fight and his characters that he gave a background to fight the characters of Marvel, then that's when we do the versus battle. Then that's when we do the capabilities, what someone is capable of. So let's just say that, Maxwell owns like, let's just say he owns an ice guy who is omniversal and he has a storyboard. So then that ice guy will pretty much, that ice guy will pretty much fight the other ice guy in Marvel's universe. I'm just saying. So this ice guy's power is based off of friendship, and he fights the ice guy that's omniversal. So because of the sake of friendship, peace, love, and joy, he scales to his level of power and pretty much beat him. So we only stick with the capability. I'm not saying that Bobby has that power. I'm just giving you guys an example. So, but I'm just gonna boil down to the point. Maxwell is not he is omnipotent and in his universe, but not in anybody else's. Because if he is, then that means he's gonna really be fighting the concept that supports that whole universe and the concept that created that character, which will be the concept of that universe and that universe that supports that author. So, like, yeah. And according to the video game of Scrambles or whatever the name is, Maxwell only owns whatever he creates. So therefore, since he didn't create the character, and the character did not come from him, and Stan Lee created a character that represents him, who has its own storyboard, like that basically shows you he could claim Maxwell and literally put him within creation and basically limit his powers and change him because Maxwell only has one storyboard that supports him, you know, and goes to his concept, but he can't do that to other Marvel characters or Stan Lee himself. But however, Stan Lee could do that to Maxwell because that one storyboard, well, I mean, I take that back. But Stan Lee could beat Maxwell, you know, and literally put him in his universe. because Maxwell doesn't, in his own universe he could do all that, but not in that. So in actuality, DC and Marvel and Dragon Ball Z is the actual big reality to Maxwell. It'll literally be, Maxwell will be like the grain of sand compared to DC's and Marvel's reality, compared to DC's Marvel and Dragon Ball Z reality, because like they have time. I mean, not because they have time. It's because of the concept that supports all of the characters. And he only has an imagination of characters with no storyboard that represents him, while while Stan Lee created an imagination that has its own storyboard and represents him. So in his eyes, he could be claimed by Marvel, and Stan Lee could literally claim him and give him his own storyboard. So yeah, so therefore, by Stan Lee giving Maxwell his storyboard, then that means Stan Lee will literally own Maxwell. What if Maxwell says no? Like, I mean, based upon the feeds, this is why we use the feeds. According to the video game, whatever Maxwell creates, he owns. So it's his own universe, okay? But he can't go to other universes and change other people's characters, because if he can, that mean that his characters have their own story of literally creating, which resembles to him. So basically, that'll be multiple storyboards. He'll be like the one above all. He'll be like Stan Lee. And so when they do go to battle, then that's when we go with the capabilities. Then that's when we go with who is capable of doing this and doing that. And so then that will be defined, who will be who. So Thor does this, and versus his version of Thor does this but can't do that. So he's capable of doing this, but by the time he gets that, Thor goes at light speed, but guy goes at the speed of sound. But his capability is absorbing anybody that, has powers of lightning, and that's pretty much how the battle goes. But as of right now, according to the video game, DC doesn't have not DC. Maxwell doesn't have a universe. I mean, oh, I got distracted. It's not that he don't have a universe. Maxwell has a reality that resembles only him. Okay? And this reality doesn't have its own version of reality, a storyboard for that reality that resembles him. Like, then he will be like the one above all, but it doesn't. If it did, he'd be like him, but it doesn't. So as of right now, he doesn't beat anybody in the MCU. He doesn't beat anybody in the Dragon Ball Z universe, and he definitely doesn't beat anybody in the DC, because he doesn't own any of those characters. And the only way for him to own those characters is if those characters have storyboards. So he's going to have to literally create a storyboard for his characters, and once he creates this ability for himself to create a storyboard for these characters in his reality, then he could change the reality to the DC universe. But once again, DC is balanced by chaos and order. So then he will be tampered with, and and he's not gonna understand that. It'll kind of literally break him. So he'll only create his own version of Gotham City, and he'll have to grow from then. Okay, well, may not be in his age. He'd have to pretty much, grow from a mindset. So again, Maxwell's reality is like a grain of sand compared to the existing realities, DC, Dragon Ball Z, and Marvel. He'd be a grain of sand to them because of the sake of storyboards. And that's what it means to have an omniversal battle. So in this case, it'll almost seem like that his imagination will be like nothing compared to Marvel's imaginations, because Marvel's imagination is a reality that was created and came into existence, while his reality and his imagination is only stuck in his head. So it literally shows you that his whole universe is really inside a box. So being inside a box means it's still in your mind. You haven't developed no stories for it or anything. So according to the video game, Maxwell only stops to what he did. So every character in his universe doesn't have a story. It's just created because Maxwell decided to do it. It doesn't have a story that created it. So therefore, Maxwell has a limit. Um, and because he does not have the capability, according to the game, to create a villain or a character with story, then he can't pretty much beat anybody outside his universe. Or he can't beat another character that steps inside his universe, period. Because if he tries to fight that character, he's going to fight the storyboard and the concept of that character. Pretty much fighting Mario, Luigi, uh, like I believe he could probably change Luigi's and Mario's reality if they don't have a story background. Now, if they don't have a story background, if there's a character, not in Dragon Ball Z, not in DC, not in Marvel, if there's a character anywhere out there that does not have a storyboard and was created, this guy owns them, okay? He owns them because he doesn't like the only type of people this guy can fight is the people that don't have no storyboards. Now, the problem is like Santama, even though that how he got his powers wasn't explained, he has a storyboard in progress. Like they're building a story in progress. So like it's just only Santama, but you have other characters in Santama's universe that has storyboards. But I believe I'm gonna have to do some more research. So like I believe that this guy would literally give Santama and his universe a run for their money. You know, it'll be a back and forth battle. You know, but as far as the Naruto universe, no, like their concept is too big. They have a lot of story. My Hero Academia, they have a lot of story, you know, that basically supports the character and made the character become what they have, become the character they are, you know, and that's what you call purpose. And Stan Lee has purpose. DC Dragon Ball Z has purpose. Maxwell doesn't have purpose. He just does it because he thought about it. So in this omniversal battle, like I said, he doesn't beat nobody outside his universe or any character in his universe that doesn't have purpose. Because if they have purpose, he's not going to beat them. But if they don't, yeah, he'll beat them. He'll take them and even claim them, and they'll be his. So, if you like what you heard, have any questions or comments, hit me up below. Um, don't look for likes. Don't look for subscriptions. Don't look for any of that. What I really basically look for is for people to understand how to scale power and how to not take things out of context. Because, like I said earlier, if I had not said it, I in this Discord battle, I was getting in this. I was debating a guy about Maxwell, and he was like, "Well, Maxwell can make Goku weak. He could do this, he could do that, but he doesn't own Goku." Like that's the point. If Maxwell has purpose, then he could pretty much own Goku. Then he could do that. But then again, like according to the Dragon Ball Z universe, Goku has Kai. So even when he does have purpose and tries to like weaken Goku, changing the concept of the character. He's gonna fight the concept of the DBZ universe, and fighting the concept of the DBZ universe is based on Kai. So that means he's going to have to. So that means Maxwell's gonna have Kai in his body, and Maxwell's Kai is gonna read Omniversal. So that means Goku's gonna literally sense this guy's Kai, and he's going to tap into this. He's gonna literally tap into that Kai. So that means pretty much like the Spirit Bomb, he's gonna say, "Give your energy to me," right? So the whole concept, okay, when he goes to Spirit Bomb and say, "Give your energy to me," he's literally gonna be outside of creation and tell the entire concept of the DBZ universe to render their energy to him. And when they do it, he's going to match Maxwell. Maxwell can't stop him receiving that power in the process. Why can't he stop it? Well, because he can't. Like, the only time he could basically do that is if he is the author of the. Well, actually, the author themselves can't even stop, because according to the DBZ universe in the manga, if somebody, right, is charging their Kai and their their power is increasing, you're not going to be able to interrupt it, because of all this Kai that's pretty much coming to you in your body. When they charge their Kai, when they charge their Ki, they quake the entire universe. So in this case, depending on what scale of power they go to. So by him having purpose and fighting Goku, he's going to be fighting the whole concept of the Dragon Ball Z universe. So when Goku tells the concept of the DBZ universe to render the power to him, it's going to happen. That power is going to instantaneously be given to him. And like, it's going to shake the entire concept, quake it, and freaking he's gonna feel that level of power having that key in his body. And because he is an Saiyan, and let's just give it a highball, let's just say Maxwell will be a Saiyan, he'll literally sense that power, and that power will leave him stunned and shocked, as it always happens in the Dragon Ball Z universe. So whether that power comes slowly or it comes fast, he's going to be equal to his power. And now that he's fighting the concept of the Dragon Ball Z universe, having purpose, like, because they have more storyboard than he does, and he's still elevating or making more characters to represent him in this omniversal battle, when Goku would literally be the concept of the DBZ universe that has its own character, that Vegeta made his own character. Vegeta is made to be his own character out of what he came to be. Goku came out to be what he was, and that concept came from a bigger, author. Like, Maxwell will be stunned, and like, one key blast towards Maxwell will pretty much destroy his universe. And pretty much like all times, Goku's gonna tell Maxwell, "I don't want to do this to you. Go home." And in case Maxwell thinks he's gonna change it having purpose, Goku's gonna erase him. So like I said from the beginning, Goku will multiply the concept of the DBZ universe, and it's just gonna overwhelm Maxwell. While Maxwell is omniversal at one scale of power, right? He's omniversal at one scale, while Goku goes Super Saiyan, given power from the concept, and he's going to multiply that concept times 50. So it'll be times 50 the concept of the entire DBZ universe. When he goes Super Saiyan 2, it's going to be times 150 of the entire DBZ universe. And I don't want to continue about Super Saiyan 3. So by the time Maxwell sees this, he's not going to be able to beat him, man. He won't, because that concept will be bigger than Maxwell himself. I hope you guys understood that. So what I basically just said was that the concept of the whole DBZ universe will put Goku on a scale. Once he say render your energy to me, it's gonna give it its energy, and he's gonna scale omniversal. Okay, so he's gonna go Super Saiyan and times 50. He's gonna be 50 times omniversal. And then once it goes Super Saiyan 2, it'd be 150 times omniversal. Like, and freaking Maxwell's not going to be able to change any of that, because changing that will shock the daylights out of him. Like, he's not going to be able to change that because he's too powerful. Like, he will literally be his own author of the whole DBZ universe. And, like, he can't change it because, according to the DBZ universe, whether you have purpose or not, if somebody has more power than you do, right? They're stronger than you because his Kai is bigger than yours. He's stronger than you. He's faster than you, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So by the time Maxwell has any second thoughts, Goku done already made a move. And like I said, he will be at the concept of speed. Goku will literally have the concept of speed, power, strength, and all times 50. And Maxwell is not going to compete against that. So Maxwell being omniversal will be at the scale. He'll be the concept of strength, speed, and pretty much everything. While Goku would literally, while Goku absorbing energy from the concept of the DBZ universe, will multiply that times 50, times 150 in Super Saiyan 2, or actually, be like, I think, yeah, times 150 in Super Saiyan 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and times that once he goes Super Saiyan 3. So in this case, Maxwell doesn't stand a chance against all of that power. It'll just erase him. So, you guys have any questions or comments, any concerns? Oh, and he pretty much can't do that to Trigon neither. And just to throw the tips in there, Trigon has a capability that absorb darkness and evil thoughts. And if he put any because Maxwell does not have any darkness in his universe or any chaos in his universe. But in his reality, if he had bad dreams, if he had nightmare in the author's concept, he can absorb that. Trigon could literally step outside of the Maxwell's universe and absorb whatever dark thought the actual author had. Because if the author literally had any broken past his lifetime creating this character, any bad thing he mentioned, if he didn't mention any bad thing, then, him opposing Trigon, he's not going to beat Trigon, and Trigon won't get to him, because, him fighting Trigon will fight the concept of DC, and DC is bigger than he is because he has more reality. Evil and darkness makes up Trigon. So with him having fear in his heart looking at this demon, this will strike fear in his heart, even at an omniversal level. So, like always, Trigon will literally try to put dark thoughts in this guy's mind, nightmares and terrors. And right before he even thinks it, Trigon be done absorbed it and became that level of fear, darkness, and evil. And he would just hurt the innocent child. And then Raven would just have to come to this child's rescue to push him out. But yeah, Trigon's a sucker, man. This guy is no joke. So, I'm going to continue on. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave it below. Peace.